Hey guys, it's Ash and P.
Oh my gosh. Hi. Hello.
I'm a little bit of a stickler. A stickler.
Stickler?
A stickler. There's that word. Pickle.
You're a strict stickler.
Strict stickler.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, did I just step in his piss? That's what I'm thinking, right? Hey guys, it's Ash and P.
No. We're back.
Yeah. Yep. That one. Good thing you can slice. Good thing you can slice. Oh my gosh.
Music is by Dust Bowl Champion. To hear Dust Bowl Champion's newest hits, search Dust Bowl Champion on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your music. Hey guys, it's Ash and P.
Hey, we're back. Are you okay? Are you going to cough?
I was going to cough and I didn't want to do it into the mic. Sorry.
Wow, good job. Good self-control there.
I'm trying. So, how was your weekend?
It would have been even more awesome had the flu not ruined our plans. So these episodes were supposed to be done in person with each other.
Yes.
But like all husbands do, Ashley's husband ruined everything.
Yes. Gosh darn it, Jason. Way to go. This weekend actually was Priscilla's first birthday party celebration in Vegas for one of her children. Georgia had her birthday. And so the Williams were supposed to go to Vegas. And on Wednesday, Jason came home from Texas. He had a meeting in Texas. And so he came home. And while he was gone, mind you, like probably a day or two before, we were talking and he was coughing. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you coughing? You better not be getting sick. And he's like, I was coughing on, I don't know if he was coughing on his spit or what he was coughing on, right? I'm like, okay. Well, then he comes home and he's taking his medicine, like his heartburn medicine, not medicine for being sick. And he's taking a drink and he just starts choking. Like water goes all over the refrigerator and everything. Like he cannot handle it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you? And then like he keeps coughing. And I was like, geez, are you going to be okay over there? And he's like, I think I'm getting sick. And I was like, what? And he's like, I'm achy. I don't know if it's from sitting in like those bad chairs or if I'm getting sick. And I was like, you better go upstairs and you better stay away from me. Don't even think about being around me. So he did. I was like, you should probably, yes, everyone, I'm old. So this is what I do. I said, you should probably soak in some Epsom salt. And I have a bad back. Okay. It's fine. So I tell him, you should probably soak in some Epsom salt and, just hang out upstairs. Like, don't get us sick. Right. And you better be ready to go Friday morning. You better not be sick. And so he's like, okay, he goes upstairs and then he's like sleeping. Right. I'm like, okay, whatever. Then Thursday morning, I get up, I'm getting ready for work. I always leave the light off when he's home because he's normally sleeping when I'm getting ready for work. So I'll turn like the closet light on and I'll start getting ready. So I'm like almost ready to go, finishing like my last few curls. I look behind me because I saw him in the mirror and I was like, that was weird. And he's wearing a long sleeve shirt and has my warm Snuggie laid on top of him. Mind you, I had the heater on that night. So it wasn't like, okay, I don't keep the heater super high, but I think it's at like 68, 67, 68.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's not freezing. And I was like, oh gosh, okay. So I like messaged my boss. I'm like, hey, can I use like an hour of sick? Because I need to get this full, like, he's got to get his stuff together, right? So I like go downstairs, I get him like some emergency, I get him some vitamins, I get him water, I like take everything up on the side, like put it on his nightstand, give him a thermometer so that he can take his temperature. And then later that day, he says that he's fine. Like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I feel good. I'm like, have you taken Advil? Yes. I'm like, Okay, so you don't know if you're fine then. You don't know if you have a fever. But he's taking Advil because he's achy. I'm like, okay. So then I tell Priscilla, like, shoot, Jason's achy, blah, blah, blah. So then she's like, okay, well, he better get better. And then the next morning, I made him take his temperature, and it was like, it was low, right? It was 100.3, I think. I'm like, P, it's 100.3. I don't know. She's like, maybe, maybe have him kind of wait it out. What about later in the afternoon? See how he feels. I'm like, okay. So then around I think 11 or
Meanwhile,
so.
he's got a terrible cough, right? Which
Oh,
is not, it's not a big deal, but he has like a terrible cough during all of this.
and I'm telling him, I don't know why I have to tell him, like I have to tell my children, can you cover your cough? Can you cover your cough? And he'll do this. I'm like, well, that's great, because now you've just coughed on everything. You've coughed on your hand. You're going to go open the refrigerator. You're going to use the ice scoop. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, you can't catch it with your hand and throw it away and then it goes away.
I'm like, what in the heck is wrong with you? But he's like, I am covering, like gets so offended that I tell him, like, can you please cover it? So yeah, then he, by like 11:30, I think, I messaged her and I'm like, it had gone up. He was super achy. I was like, yeah, go ahead and take Advil. We're going to have to stay home. Yeah. Which my kids were like, well, why can't, well, actually Jackson, forget about me. Jackson was like, why can't Hayden just drive us? I guess just Hayden, Nancy, and Jackson.
Just
I'm
the
like,
kids.
yeah, I'm like, well, I could just drive us. Like, that's not the issue. But my concern is, are we going to take what he has with us over there?
Yeah.
Which probably a good concern, because I started to get a cough, like, I think Wednesday night, no, maybe Thursday night, I started to get a cough, and it wasn't bad at all. It was just like a tickly throat cough.
Mm-hmm.
But then Jason ruined all our plans. Our podcast is now not in person.
Yep.
We were going to do some fun little videos. Didn't get to do those. Nancy was going to paint Georgia's fingernails. Didn't get to do that.
Yeah, thank goodness that I didn't leave all the weeding for you, like you said to.
I know. I thought that too. I was like, oh, thank goodness she's not one of those people that's like, yeah, that's fine. We'll wait until you get here to do it. But yeah, P was having the time of her life weeding her cricket stuff, and it was not going great.
Well,
I was like, I can do it when we get there. So that would have been a mess.
Yeah. Well, it was a crazy week because Tony was out of town all week for work. So I had the kids. And I'm trying to prep for this party, and I'm trying to work, and I'm trying to, do all the things and get them to all of their things and, do the school stuff and all of it. So it was a very hectic week. The kids were pretty good, but by time Tony got home, by the time I had to go pick him up at the airport Friday afternoon, which my parents came into town.
That's so nice that they got there early.
I know, that was really nice, because I just gave my mom, like, my mom's she's not a crafty person. So I'm like, okay, wash the fruit, shred the chicken, like things like that I know she could handle. But it was helpful, it was great. And then she was able to stay and watch the kids while I ran to the store and picked up stuff. But I had to pick up Tony at the airport, and I was like, okay, so I'm just going to circle back around, and then you can drop me off, and I'm going to fly out of here, and then you can handle everything. I was
seriously
I was exhausted. I'm not going to lie. I was tired. I was just really tired.
Well, that's kind of a rough window to do a party, right? Like him being gone, coming back in town. And I mean, the girls are good, and they are older, it's not like they're small little babies, but there's still a lot to be done with them, and a lot that you are doing trying to get ready for a party.
Yes. And then Friday, you would think like I would have gotten a lot more done with them being at school, but they had an in-service day on Friday, so they didn't have school
Yes.
on Friday, so they were home. So it's like, I'm hungry. I want a snack. I want this. I want that. Then they're fighting with each other. So it was just, I'm glad that my parents were here, and my mom could help with the kids and everything like that early.
Oh, yeah.
And then once Tony got here, we just like all the things that we had like, well, Jason could do this. Ashley can do this. We're like,
Yeah.
we better get going on them right now because it's just us.
Yeah.
But the party was great and everything. I mean, of course, it all turned out. There were things like that I didn't get to do. Like I didn't put up certain signs. I didn't put things up and do things, but I mean, no one notices except me,
No.
right? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fine.
It
But
looks so cute.
but I definitely was like, "Ugh, if I had had more hands, I just didn't have enough hands. I mean, I was running around. I had okay, so let me back the truck up just a little bit. So, um, you know, the kid parties for me, they're like my most favorite thing to do. I
Yeah.
love doing different things with them and coming up with something creative and unique. This one was going to be so different because it was going to be smaller, which was totally fine. There wasn't as many girls. They were all girls from her class. And I was really excited for it, but I really don't know any parents. Like I've met one of the moms a couple of times, and so her and I have had conversations, but we don't really talk. Like we don't really know each other. And so this was going to be my first time really meeting parents there. And so I was trying to trying to be the hostess and but talk to them all and kind of try to get an idea and get familiar with them. So I'm getting ready. I have I rented a bounce house, and so I have them coming and delivering the bounce house and the kids' tables.
What size was that bounce house?
10 by 8.
Okay.
So it was small.
It was cute though.
It was cute.
I thought it was really
very
cute.
And I didn't know how much space I would have in the yard. I'm just not familiar with it yet. So didn't want to get something that was too big. Now I know a little bit more, what I can do in the yard. But the kids had so much fun. But I had so the party was early because I had a baker coming in who was it was Georgia's great cake off, right? So it was like they were all gonna decorate their own individual cakes, every kid. And so she was kind of coming to oversee it, and she was bringing all the supplies for them. Well, the party, she needed to do another private party at her studio later that day. So she had to do it early. So her time for the cakes were going to be 11 to 12. So I had to have an early birthday party, which is fine because it actually was nice to be able to have your full day. But that means everything has to be done early, right? So
yeah.
The start time was 10:30, and that means that would give everyone 30 minutes to get in. The kids could bounce, they could play, whatever, until we start the cakes, which was kind of perfect because one kid did not show up until right before 11. So,
nice.
Yeah, so that
you don't get to be a part of the competition. Sorry.
So I was, so I'm excited, but I'm running around. Like I had already showered, but I was in a sweatshirt, no makeup, hair up, and leggings because I'm like putting up balloons and I'm doing the food and all this stuff, right? I tell the bounce people that the party starts at 10 because I wanted them to come as early as possible.
Yeah.
Thank goodness I did, because they came and they were not done setting up until 9:50.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, all it was the bounce house that they had to put up. That's it. But 9:50. And right when they're finishing setting up, walks in a parent with their child. And I'm like, oh, hello. Hi. And she's like, hi, are we the first ones here? And I'm like,
Yeah. Other people will be here in about a half hour.
I'm like, doesn't start for 45 minutes.
Oh
She's
my
like,
goodness.
oh, she's like, well, I can help. But when you're just like, it's like,
Yes.
what can I have her do? I mean, I am like, I can't just
And
throw
then,
you into
okay,
this right now.
you didn't know this woman, did you?
This is one that I've talked to a few times.
Okay, good.
She's a little bit older, so I wasn't sure. Like, I don't know. I've only talked to her a couple of times.
Okay.
But I have met her before. Well, so anyway, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm basically like, I'm gonna have to kind of like just ignore you for the most part because I gotta finish, and then I got to go run upstairs and get like dressed.
Yes.
Luckily, Georgia had just finished getting dressed, and I was like, stay out here and have fun with your friend. You guys bounce and just
good.
Be cool. And so we did that. But I met the parents. Everyone's very friendly, very nice. But it's awkward. It's awkward. We're the new people, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're new. It is interesting to me though. Like, it doesn't sound to me like and this is only I'm sorry, not second grade. This is only first grade. So the kids went to a lot of them went to kindergarten there last year. But there's two classes for every grade until fifth. So fifth has one class, sixth has one class, so does seventh and eighth. The other classes, so K through fourth, all have two classes.
Oh.
And so some kids were in one kinder class and some kids were in the other kinder class. So they weren't all together last year.
Okay.
But it doesn't sound to me like any of the parents really know each other. And isn't that kind of
for you?
I know, but isn't it kind of weird?
I think it's weird for where you came from.
Yeah.
I think it's weird for where you came from. But think about it. Public school arena. How many of the parents in T's class, like you might have known like 3 or 4, right? But you didn't know probably a lot of the parents.
Yeah.
I think PTC obviously helped us to get to know parents.
Yeah.
But like the boys' classes, I probably knew probably not even a handful of people. Well, because we just didn't do a lot of stuff with them, right? Like, you're going to all these, you don't always have the same kids in your class. You don't hang out with all of them for sure. You know what I mean? So I think coming from where you guys were, where it was like one class per grade and everyone was so tight knit.
Yeah.
Where you seem like you're at a bigger school.
It's definitely like, and it's interesting because although there's 2 classes for each grade level, the class sizes are much smaller than we had with only one class, right? So like for the girls' kindergarten class, they would have 30, 35 kids, 37 kids in the classroom, which is bananas to me. But now it's split between 2. So now there's 2 classes with 22 students in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the number's a little bit higher, but it's split into 2 different classrooms.
Yeah.
I go back to my only hesitation with this school. It's not even a hesitation. I'm just trying to figure it out. It's a brand new school. It's only been open for a couple years, but they just haven't gotten that community vibe yet. That community like closeness yet. I don't see it yet.
Did you tell them if they want to keep you, you're going to need to feel that because that's kind of your jam?
I'm just like, it's kind of just a little, I'm trying to figure it out. So I don't know. We have a family dance on Friday. And so that'll be good to go to and see. And I had coffee with one of the 2 of the moms from kindergarten the other day. And I said something about, they go, oh, are you going to the dance? And I said, I'm going to do all the things. Like, I'm going to do all the things because I need to see firsthand. This is our first year. And I'm never going to know if I don't go do all the things. That's why I'm volunteering, doing the blah, 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 because I need to be able to see it. Like, is this, whatever. And honestly, it's been rough. It's not easy moving away from everything that you've loved, and starting
I'm
over.
sure. Yeah. That's a lot, but like if you think about it, when you guys started at OLPH, like you didn't know anyone, right?
No.
So like you left public school and went there and you didn't know people, but you met people. But
Mhm.
I mean, that school is more established, obviously. It's
Yeah.
been around forever. And so families, one, have been going. Some of them
Right.
had older kids, like Georgia
Right.
and Danny weren't necessarily their first and second, which
Right.
I'm not saying that about you. I know Tristan exists. I just mean like, I think
Mhm.
you've met some parents at this new school where their kids in those grades are their first kids.
A lot. I'm noticing that a lot. A lot of the
Yeah.
parents, these are their first babies. Um, I've met some that have older kids, but this is really like, and some of them it's their only child. Like maybe they only had one. This is their first child, and so it's a different dynamic for me. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to like feel it all out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't know. I mean, my thing is too. It's like I look. I say this to people all the time. It's like I'm doing this too, like, not because I want to be like, hey, I want more friends, because I really don't know if I do. but it's not for me.
We're
I'm
good,
doing
you
it.
guys. She's
I know.
got friends. No, I'm
I
just
know.
kidding.
No, but I'm doing it for my kids,
Yeah.
because they'll never get comfortable if I don't make way for them to get comfortable.
Yeah.
And they're not going to feel that community spirit
Right.
if I don't help create that for them.
Yeah.
It's hard when you're the new kid, and I want them to struggle any more than it already is a struggle to start new and start fresh somewhere. So yeah, it's interesting putting yourself out there. I'm like, okay, hi, what do you do? Where are you from? It's like, I feel like I'm on a dating app a little bit, but
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what you need to do is plan like a what's that called? A speed dating, like a speed dating event for the parents, but like a friend speed dating.
yeah, yeah.
Nobody's trying to pick up on anyone,
No,
okay?
no,
Parents
no,
out
no,
there, no
no
one's picking up on anyone.
swingers.
I
No.
just like maybe to do like a mixer or something like that
Mhm.
with them. Maybe that would be good. And I know that makes it a little bit hard because for the next few years they may or may not be in class with some of these kids,
Yeah.
But I mean that's a struggle that you felt with T,
Yeah.
you're familiar with that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
um, but yeah, the good thing is that the girls are very social. They're very good at making friends, and I mean, I haven't seen any downfalls for them. Now, I know in the beginning, you had mentioned I think Georgia was struggling a little bit, like she was having a little bit of a hard time, but it wasn't anything like super awful where it was like, I'm not going to go to school. I don't want to be here, nothing like that.
Right.
So I feel like they've transitioned very well
They do. I mean, they still say things all the time, like
about their other friends.
though they miss their friends so much. I mean, they really do. They miss their school so much. But they'll say things all the time like, I wish dad's work didn't make us move. Or, I wish I still had my house, you know.
Oh, okay. Don't cry because I
I
told
know.
you I'm emotional, so you can't do that to me. But
It's still
um
hard.
yeah, no, I could see that. That even though they're doing well with the school transition, it still is like their family and friends outside of school that they're not around. Their cousins aren't around. For a cousin's birthday party, I mean, maybe you guys will
Yeah.
make them, but there's probably going to be cousins' birthday parties that you guys just don't make.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that will be hard for them. Luckily, they won't realize it, but you do know, like yourself, that they're missing it. So that's
Well,
hard.
It's tough. And like, I'm the first sibling to move away. Everyone lives in town with each other. And I will say, I mean, I'm the oldest, so it usually, I usually am probably a little bit better at making sure like I'm on top of everyone's birthdays and everyone's things. I think I'm a little bit more on top of it than some of my other brothers and, and stuff. Um, but it's tough. So this is the first one we've moved away, and my girls were already like, they really wanted to do their, like, Georgia really wanted to have her party in Clovis.
Really?
But
oh, can you just come and have a party for her here?
I wanted to. Originally, I wanted to do
Since I missed it, I'm going to request a second birthday for her.
I wanted to do two. I wanted to do one there with her and her friends, and I wanted to do one here. But basically, January just flew by. And it's been hard to get anything on the books lately. Just because it's so busy. We've been so on the go since the holidays. And after being gone for Christmas, I just was kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't do it so quickly.
That is the hard thing about her birthday, is it is just right there, and you guys have traveled already. And I mean, maybe things will be different next year because with the holiday, we had talked about it. I don't know that you guys are going to be in town because of the time frame that from Montel Christmas to Christmas is so long.
Yeah.
That, I mean, if you guys aren't here during that time, then maybe a January visit won't be as difficult. But January is also hard, I feel like, for work. Like the beginning of the year is always crazier for us and our schedule because of Jason in the beginning part of the year. And I'm sure Tony feels the same.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and they have to kind of prepare themselves for like, Chinese New Year and everything like that affects his business. So
that's right. I didn't even think about that.
January is a really busy month for him. But I also just felt like it was really important that she try to have a party, that we have a party here, so that she can get to know these kids and I can get to know these parents, because we are so new. And I'm going to be super emotional today.
Yeah, please don't do that. You're going to make me cry too, and then it's going to be all bad.
Because I do feel like I don't see us moving back, and in order to make this work, I have to make it work,
Yeah.
And so I wanted her to have that here, and I wanted to create that for her here. I think what was hard too is like, and my family that's going to listen is going to probably blow my phone up after this episode airs, but I had quite a few of my family that didn't call her for her birthday.
Oh.
And I think they just forgot, it was just, you're busy and you're in your moment and in your day, and they just forgot. I have a few that did, but a few that didn't. And I don't think she noticed it, but I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, gosh, like, it's really the further, not like we're so far, but it's like the more we're gone, we're really gone.
Yeah. Now, question about that. When she was in town, would people have been calling anyway?
I don't know if it's because,
or would they have been waiting just to see her at her birthday party?
They probably would have, yeah. Or they would have, I for the most part, I feel like most of them do call or FaceTime her on her birthday, but I think it's usually fresher in their head because they have
a party that's coming up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's like, I guess maybe just it's closer to the top of their head than it was, I guess,
Sure. Yeah.
This
Which
year.
that makes sense. I could see that. But it still makes it hard just because not like you're saying anything wrong with your siblings or family that didn't reach out. It's just, it still hurts your heart because you almost feel like she was forgotten a little bit.
Well,
and you know how they feel about being there. And you guys, I mean, it's not like you guys moved there because you were like, yes, we need to get out of this place. We hate everything about our life. Let's go. Yes. It was like, okay, this could be a really great opportunity. It's for Tony's work it's going to be good. And you know what? Hey, it's like you get to experience that change, right?
Right.
Not everyone stays where they were born and raised, and so I think that in your situation, like, it was hard to leave. It wasn't like you were like, yes, I'm out of here, and then to kind of feel that way. I could see that.
Yeah. I think it's just been, I don't know. I mean, I think like I don't know how Tony feels about it. It's not something that we've talked about really for a while, but I feel like I can be on the up about like all of the decisions and the reasons we moved here and feeling good about it. And I really do like the school. I really love her teachers.
Yeah.
I really love the facility. I love what they're implementing. I love their style. I love the church. Um, and in all honesty, I was not loving the church where we were,
Yeah.
and the way things were going. So I don't know how happy we would have been had we stayed. We probably would have left that parish and gone
Yeah.
somewhere else. But I feel like you go through your ups and downs, and lately I've just been on this down of like I'm every time I look at a home, it's not my home that I had before. It's not even anything that I really like love. Not that we're looking hardcore and the decision has to be made now, but I get discouraged, right? Like, okay, this isn't the home that I'm in love with. Am I going to find a home that I love? You
Yeah.
know? I get discouraged. I don't know. It's one of those roller coasters that we're on,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I
moving away is hard.
Yeah. I think that there have been a lot of great things that have come out of your move. We've talked about it before, and your relationship with God and your guys' parish, the girls' school, those have all been really great things. And those are all really important things.
Yeah.
Um, and I do think you'll find a house that you love. It's hard when, your house here, you guys had it built, you guys got to, customize parts of it and things like that, and you really got to make it into everything that you wanted it to be. Keep in mind, you were not always happy with that house.
That's true. It's
The
very true.
property was not what you wanted it to be.
Right.
So there were things like that. But I think that you can find an equivalent there. Um I think it's hard because it's being compared to something else, right?
Yeah.
And that obviously is going to make it more difficult, but I do think you guys will find something. I think that you'll find something when it's right, though, you know? And unfortunately, right now, I feel like you feel like you're up in the air, right? You're trying to plant your roots, but you can't plant your roots without like your house, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
hard. So I feel like there's a little bit of turmoil there, but I do think you guys are going to find something. I think you will. You just might have to put up a cinder block wall or something if you want it. I mean, your guys' fences there are a little different.
Yes.
It's
They are a
like
little different.
not like, in Tennessee, they don't really do fences. It's a
I
lot of
know.
openness and stuff. So it's not that bad, but like you had mentioned, you were looking at a house that's for sale near you, and it's like wrought iron fence. And that is hard with pets. That's really
Yeah.
hard with
Like
pets.
that would be so annoying. My dogs would see everyone, and it's right by a walking path. So can you imagine everyone
No.
walking by and my dogs just flipping out all day
And
long?
seeing
Oh
you
my
in a
goodness.
swimming pool, like,
Oh yeah,
no,
no
thank
thanks.
you.
No
Yeah,
thanks. No
no
one needs to see
privacy.
that.
Yeah. So, but I think you guys will find, like, I mean, look at Tony's boss's house. His house is great. Like, I don't know
Hmm.
how much
Yeah, they
they've
have a
had
beautiful.
to do to it, on their own, but you guys will find something. You will.
Yeah. Ugh. I'm also just hoping everything maybe now, I don't know, maybe things will just kind of come down a little in prices. It's expensive. It's so
Yeah.
crazy right now to buy anything. I mean,
Yeah.
anything, a house, a car,
You can buy a car on
groceries.
Amazon now.
What?
Yeah. Did you watch the games yesterday?
No.
Yeah, you can buy a car on Amazon now.
I took a nap yesterday.
Oh.
I tried to get some rest
Yeah.
after church.
Partied it up.
Yep, pretty much.
Good.
Well, sorry for the emotional meltdown here.
It's okay. Let it out. Gotta let it out.
We're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Segment music by Callie Grace. For more of Callie Grace's hits, follow Callie Grace on iTunes and Spotify today.
Hey guys, we're back.
Hey.
And
Okay.
I'm not going to get emotional anymore. I'm done.
We're not going to do emotions anymore. But that's fine. If you need to do emotions, we're just living life, right? It's fine. But I am excited about this conversation that we're about to have. I have not told P really anything that it is. I just mentioned who it was about. I mentioned who it was about. Okay, so today we are recording and it is January 20th. So it is Inauguration Day. It is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It is all kinds of good stuff day. It's also pardon everyone who effed up in the last like 7 years or so day, it seems like. That's at least the impression that I'm getting. I'm just saying, if my family wasn't involved in some money scheme stuff, I don't think I'd need to pardon them.
I do think, and I haven't seen anything. I haven't watched anything since the inauguration this morning. I watched it all, but even the news was very confused as to why he just pardoned everyone in his entire family. Like it's never been done that way.
Except Jill. She must have kept her hands clean. That's all I'm saying.
It's very bizarre though. And they're like, why do you, I've never heard of such a thing. Like, why do you have to pardon your entire family, your siblings, their spouses? I mean, it's like everyone.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
Why? Very bizarre.
And so not just them though. One of the people I want to talk about was released prior pardon was released prior to that release that they did at the very last moment while JD Vance was being sworn in, to try to keep that all hush hush. I feel like nice try, but they did the J6 investigate. What was that investigation team that what were they called? J6, whatever. Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, all of those hoes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All of those people, pardoning them for the J6 committee, pardoning all of those people, which why do you need to pardon people if they didn't do anything wrong? Like, I understand if you really truly think that someone is going to come after someone for a political reason. However, they've been going after Trump and he had to deal with it. Let these other people deal with it. Not that I think that should be a thing that happens. I definitely don't condone going after sorry, these neighbor kids, a political like opponent for that reason. I don't think that that's acceptable. I do think that is what they've been doing a lot with Trump, which I don't support that, as well as I do not support Trump going after anyone. I don't think he should be going after anyone who did not actually do anything. However, I think that pardoning all of those people is just a good way to say F you to you regular Americans. You guys don't get to know anything. Now, because of this, now their Fifth Amendment right is essentially is null and void because they can say anything about any of that stuff and nothing's ever going to happen to them. So if they had to go and testify, they can't plead their fifth, right? So that maybe we'll get something out of it, but I honestly feel like it's going to be like, no, let's not do anything. Thank you. Sorry, I had to get more tea. Let's just leave it in the past, right? Which I don't think is cool. I would like to know all of that stuff. But the even bigger one, bigger for me. Now, there's obviously people that are impacted by the J6 stuff that that is the bigger part for them, right? But Dr. Fauci, pardoning Dr. Fauci is a little suspicious to me. You're pardoning this guy who has been a director of the National Health Institute or whatever. I don't know what it's called, but you know what he is.
Right.
For how many years? He was there like during Clinton's thing, right? He's been doing this forever. He was there through Trump stuff. That was a bad move, bad call. But then you are pardoning him because of what? Like, if he was that big of a target, don't you think he would not have been a part of, like, he would not have stayed as director when Trump was there? You're pardoning him because you know that he did some dirty stuff and you're about to get some money from all those people that he gets his money from. And I think it's dirty and I am so floored about it.
Okay, so this is Ashley's conspiracy corner talk right now.
Mm-hmm.
What in your mind, what do you think he may have done, or do you think that will surface as to why he needed to be pardoned?
I would love for it to surface. I don't know if it will. I don't know that I have confidence in anyone in the government, either side. I think everyone's stupid. And I think they think the American people are stupid. And in a lot of ways we are, because we will just continue to vote for these idiots. But so there is this documentary that I would highly encourage. If you would be interested in it, I would actually send you a link to where you can watch it for free. But it's called Thank You, Dr. Fauci, and it is a documentary. It's by this gentleman, Jenner First, like Furst, I think is the spelling, not the number. But he has produced many films. That this isn't like just his first one. He's just like this up and coming guy, right? He was actually after the pandemic, he was approached to create a documentary on Fauci, but it had to do with HIV in Africa and how he just saved so many lives there. That's what they approached him to do it for. I guess Fauci ended up doing like Nat Geo or something like that, so he didn't end up doing a documentary with him, but he had his contact because of that. So in like the early days when they start like talking about all these things, right? And like we're hearing all this different stuff, right? He's like, I want to know what's happening. So he actually gets a group, like a team together, and he says, like, I want to do this documentary. And he's like talking about writing an email to Fauci, like some answers that he would like Fauci to answer about COVID-19. And the reason it's named Thank You, Dr. Fauci is he's like, how should we sign it? Like, and the guy said, what about Thank You, Dr. Fauci? I am sure he loves to hear how thankful we are to him, like blah, 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 right? I'm like, that's so true. I'm sure he is in love with that. So there are some things that I found out from that documentary that I was not quite aware of. And this is just a warning that we may not finish this. This might be like a cliffhanger to another episode where we talk more about Fauci. But Um, I know this makes me really uneducated and sound dumb, but did you know that they essentially pushed out the director of the CDC during all of this? And that then Fauci became the spokesperson for COVID
No, I
rather
did not know.
than the director of the CDC. That
Right.
doesn't make any sense to me. However, the director of the CDC early on told Fauci that he did not feel that it was a wet market, a wet market transmission thing, that he felt that it was likely to come from a lab. Now, Fauci was very much against that idea, didn't want to discuss it, was really about like no, 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 like didn't even look into any other options. Um there are a ton of things that happen. So they end up, let's see, sorry, I took some notes, guys, because I was like, I gotta get some
She
of this
brought
info here.
receipts.
I brought my receipts. Okay, so first of all, this is what I liked about the CDC director. It at the time the CDC director was Robert Redfield. That's who was originally in place when the coronavirus started happening. So he said the reason that he took that position was he has 12 grandchildren and that he has a premonition that our nation is going to have a horrible pandemic. And he wants to make sure that his grandchildren are taken care of, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his concern is obviously he's wanting to make sure everyone's okay. So in on New Year's 2019, Robert Redfield, the CDC director, gets a call from his team in China. And he's told there's 27 cases of a non-specific pneumonia here. He ends up calling his counterpart in China. So the CDC director for China, that's Dr. George Gao. And he is like, yes, like it seems to have come from a wet market, yada, yada, whatever. Now he's concerned about like them saying it comes from a wet market because he said that when when viruses are being transmitted, when they're naturally like it's natural origin and it's coming from animal to people, it takes a long time for the virus to figure out how to effectively infect us and like become severe, right?
Which means it
Well,
would have had to exist. It would have to have been in existence for a really long time, is what you're
right.
saying. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So, um, he ends up finding out that I guess there's like thousands of patients that are experiencing symptoms. It's not just 27, it's thousands of people that are actually infected and affected. And it's a major issue. It's not just some little thing. Now, a couple days later, so that was January 3rd, or I'm sorry, December 31st when he got the call, and then he ends up calling the CDC in China. A couple days after that, I want to say by like January 3rd. I didn't write the date down for this one, but somewhere around there. Then this George Gao calls and tells him there's hundreds of cases. It is not natural origin. This did not come from a wet market. This has nothing to do with that. So he's saying by the first couple of days in January that many of them were already aware that it was not a wet market. But that's what we heard forever, right?
Right.
Like they just kept saying wet market, wet market. Oh, it's this, it's that, right? Well, then he Robert I want to call him Robert Redford, but that's not his name. But he
When I googled it, I had to keep scrolling because Robert Redford was the first one that came up.
Oh, yes. So he actually he had gotten together, so he called like a National Security Council meeting. And so he um he actually brought Fauci in, right? Because Fauci's supposed to be for virology and whatchamacallit, right? So he invites him in to it, and he said that off the gate he felt that that I guess Fauci was just like, no, no, no. He told Fauci that he felt it had been educated in a lab, which it would have to be educated in a lab to learn how to transmit from, right? That kind of thing. Sorry, I promise I don't have COVID. You're not even here, so you're fine if I did. But Fauci's like, no, no. His thinking was, okay, how come Fauci isn't supporting like a scientific investigation into this? Like, why is he so hard up on this? He said because he had worked with Fauci, he had worked with some of these other names that I'll be getting into for like over 40 years. So they're not like best buds or anything, but they work together. And he said that Fauci was always like the best way to prepare for a pandemic is to create it to be able to prevent it. Which he thinks is not a smart way to do it. He's absolutely against that. But Fauci was always a gain of function guy, right? And so Fauci just kept going on the wet market thing. He was really aggressive in kind of taking over the task force. I guess Dr. Redfield was told like it was the White House that wanted Fauci to step in and handle it, but he's like, I don't believe that. Which kind of makes sense because I feel like Fauci really loves a camera. I don't know if anyone else gets that vibe, but I feel like he loves a camera. Anywho, so they disagree with it, whatever. On January 11th, the genome for COVID is released. I think the Japanese release it. And inside the genome, so like you can compare it with all of these other infectious disease, there is, you've probably heard of it, the fur and cleavage site. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay. So the fur and cleavage site is something that is not common for something that is of natural origin. So there is this one piece in that genome that, and it's actually a part of the spike protein. You know, they always talked about the spike protein during COVID. It is actually attached to the spike protein and will cause it to be more infectious in humans. So it'll be a more severe infection. And that is something that people are kind of like, okay, like that's a little funky that would be in there. Like that's not super common. Large possibility it's a lab leak now, right? Because of this. Then on January 27th, so I think I said that was the 13th, right? Or the 11th. So that's the 11th. So the 27th of January, there's this doctor, Christian Anderson. He's from California, actually. And he kind of started out as a whistleblower. This documentary, it has some really good people. Like it has this investigative reporter. She's like received all these FOIAs to get some of this information. She's done a lot of research on it. And it's, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, it's kind of cool to listen to. But this Christian Anderson starts out kind of as a whistleblower. On the 27th of January, he tells Fauci, hey, there's this paper. He provides him with this paper from 2015. It's by Shi Jingli. I don't know how to say it, but he works in the Wuhan lab. And it looks like a how-to of how to create COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, is that what they call it? Whatever, right? Mm-hmm. It's basically like a how-to manual. Fauci tells him, wow, if that's true, you need to reach out to the FBI because that sounds like it could be something sinister. Maybe it's biological, blah, blah, blah. Why would he have this guy reach out to the FBI when I'm sure you have so many connections with the FBI? Being like, this guy is a virologist in California. He does not have any connections in the FBI. What is happening? So either way, there's that. Also, on that paper, when you scroll down to it, it lists like funding, right? The funding for these for this research, and 13 grants, all of them related to the US and the NIH, and Fauci signed 9 of them. That's the 2015 paper that says, hey, this is how you can make COVID SARS-2. So anyway, he tells that guy whatever. That is the 27th of January. Then he, on the 31st, there's another gosh, what is it called? I guess it's a paper, right? There's another paper released, and this is like put on et al. It's I can't remember where these people are from, but it's another study that was done. And they're saying, hey, like, there's some things that look funky with this. The furin cleavage site, odd. That's weird. And then there's also some things that look like they could be from HIV. Were you aware of the HIV part in
No,
COVID?
no.
Yes. So there's like three things within the virus that they believe may like be a part of HIV, which is scary as heck given that all of us got COVID, right?
Yes.
And so at that point, Fauci starts emailing everyone. He's like going bonkers. He starts reaching out to all of these scientists and like back channeling, does not invite. He's like, let's do this call. Does not invite Dr. Robert Redfield. Okay. All these doctors talking about COVID, but let's not call the CDC director. So these people get on this emergency teleconference. It's on a Saturday. Like that all happened on a Friday. So on Saturday, they're going to do this teleconference. And it's the Christian Anderson is there. There's this guy, Robert Gary, Andre Rembrandt, or something like that, Edward Holmes. There's all of these different guys that are all heads of these different, they're like directors in these college, basically labs, right? So these places that get funding from Fauci.
Like
Okay.
research labs?
Yes, in colleges. So they're like universities and things like that.
Right.
These research labs. So he gets all of these people on the call. They don't have the recording and they only have these notes. I guess there's something called Slack, and it's like a messaging app, I guess, and these scientists use it. And so there's conversation before the call starts. During the call, apparently the Christian Anderson guy and Robert Gary, those two, I think it was Gary, those two get into kind of a shouting match with these gain of function scientists, because for years these virologists have been saying gain of function is totally secure. There's no way that it would escape from, like, that anything's going to escape from a lab, right? They're going to do this gain of function research. It's secure. It's not going anywhere. Like, we're good. No way would our research ever cause a pandemic. And then there's this stuff coming out. So then they kind of get into a shouting match. Now, there's in the note, or in the like the little text thread type thing on Slack, Dr. Christian Anderson says that's a big ask. I don't know how we'd be able to pull it off, or hard to pull off, or something like that, right? Now, between 3 of the doctors that were on there, Fauci and there's this other guy in there, I forget, Peter Zazik or something like that, and some Collins guy, they have $7 billion in funding that they award to scientists, right? So if you're going to need someone to do something, it'd probably be pretty handy that they need something from you, right? If you need someone to lie. Just so happens that Dr. Anderson and Dr. Gary have a large grant that was sitting on Fauci's desk at that time. Now, February 3rd, the HIV paper is withdrawn. Just withdrawn. Within 3 days, it's withdrawn. After the conferences, these scientists all start writing letters saying how there's no evidence that it was lab engineered, that it's natural origin, the lab leak is, is a fraud, this and that. Basically, if you think the lab leak is a possibility, you're a conspirator. Between those scientists, they write 33 different articles. Now, in some of the articles, there's one in particular that's one of the researchers, not one of the scientist people, but one of the like documentary researchers points out that on that article, you go to a section called figures and data, where they should be providing all the scientific stuff for it. And it says this paper does not have figures. So it's essentially like, basically, I just said this and right? Like I have no proof. I'm just saying this.
Right.
And so then it's weird. So some time passes, but then, like in April, people are still kind of talking about like, is lab leak possibility, this and that. They show a clip of Trump being asked about it. And he says, we're looking into everything. They talk about this bat, but then this bat isn't in that area. And it's like, wait, you just said that on national television. And now no one's going to go back to it that they're saying this is where it came from, but that bat wasn't there. Like, what in the heck is happening? And so Fauci ends up like during that press conference saying like, oh, I came across this study, these highly qualified virologists and blah, blah, blah. It's that he's talking about these papers that all of these guys on that call wrote, like those 33 papers and whatnot. He's talking specifically about the one that says no figures, like this paper does not have figures. And he's saying like, oh, these highly qualified, but then he goes to say, I don't have their names. I don't have the paper right now. We can get it to you. I'm like, if they're highly qualified, don't you think you know who they are? That would be one of my questions. Mm-hmm. 2, if this is something so serious that this is proving that it was not a lab leak, why do you not have that paper with you at the press conference? Like, to me, that was crazy. And that's all I'm going to give you on this Fauci COVID part, because there's like a whole additional like 40 minutes.
Remind everyone the name of the documentary that you...
The name of the documentary is Thank You, Dr. Fauci. It is by Jenner Furst, F-U-R-S-T. And I know some people are like, oh, this kind of stuff is so boring to me. I am super interested in this kind of stuff because I love to investigate some false information. I think I was supposed to be a PI in my former life.
I think you were too.
I was supposed to be, or maybe I was. So yeah, thank you, Dr. Fauci. I know that if you, which I don't know how many people that listen to us have Tucker Carlson Network, but if you have Tucker Carlson Network, it is available on there. Otherwise, how to find it, I'm not quite sure. Are you looking for it right now?
Yeah, I am. I just did. It might be streaming on PBS.
Shut up.
Yeah.
If they were to stream that, I would be so shocked. I would be absolutely stunned. But I mean, maybe they are. Who knows? Maybe they don't care because, he's been, whatchamacallit, pardoned. I think so. You originally had
Oh, that's
asked
a different one.
what
Sorry.
do I, no, you're good. What do I think would potentially come out? So if they were to actually look into it, I think that one, we all know he was doing gain of research, or at least maybe he wasn't doing gain of research, but I do believe they were doing gain of research in the States, but that he was financially supporting gain of research, and that was not supposed to be happening. He said that he was not doing it. So I think that proof about that would come out. I also think that it would come out, everything that he hid, right? Like all of these things that he hid, which, I mean, unfortunately, the pandemic was a pandemic. And I think once it got out, there wasn't any slowing it down. But had they been honest about it in the beginning, would it have been less fatal?
Well, and here's what I want to, on our next episode, I want to ask you what in your, I'm going to be the other side of things, right?
Yes.
So, if Fauci, I guess for me, I'm going to question you and say, what would be his biggest gain?
Money.
Or, okay, but hold on. Answer these when we come back to the next one.
Oh, just kidding. It's not money, you guys. I'll talk to you guys about that next time.
What would be the reason?
Okay.
Who do you think does he have behind him to back him on these things? Because you're talking a very powerful person to be able to pull this off. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another question. Damn it. I lost my train of thought right now. And what does this mean going forward? Those are my 3 questions. And I am going to, I mean, I love all of this and I love that you do all this research. You really do. I will say, you really do try your best to do a lot of research when something surfaces. You're not just one to believe something that pops up on the intraweb. You will do your due diligence and try to get to the bottom of it. And I think we both have discussed it, in today's world, it is a complete shit show, and it is a nightmare to believe anyone and anything that you hear
I know.
on any news, any platform, anything. It's all craziness.
Yeah.
I don't know if you listen to this, and maybe you should before our next episode. I know I have it on my to-do list this week. But Tony listened to Mark Zuckerberg on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Okay. I have not listened to that.
And it was very interesting. And he talked a little bit about the censorship and the administrations and what they were kind of basically telling him to do as well. So
this is a whole nother topic, so we won't go into it really much further, but I do have to tell you, my coworker, he was like, "Oh, did you see that?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I would be saying too if another party was taking over and I didn't want to basically be eating my own, you know?" And he was like, "But like, it sounds like the government was really telling him this." And I was like, "I'm sure that they were. And I'll give him a little bit of grace. He doesn't need any of my grace anyway, to be quite honest. He needs all of Jesus's grace. But the grace that I will give him will be very small because, in my opinion, there were companies that got shut down because they said no to the government." And he was like, "Oh, no, this is more important. Like, my money and all of this is more important. So I will bow down to you guys." And I think that, like, the human aspect of it, that is so wrong because you allowed a lot of stuff that is happening that has been shared on social media, things that have been shared, things that have been kept quiet, different things like that. is because you've allowed that. Had you said, no, we're not going to do it, then we might be in a different situation today, and we're not. So I can only give you so much grace. You're going to have
100%.
to get the rest of it from God,
100%.
because I mean, I just think it's hindsight is 2020, right? And so now your circumstances are changing, and it's like a lot easier to blame stuff on everyone else.
Yeah. Yep,
but
you're absolutely right.
like, there's a platform that I used to use. They were shut down because they said, no, we're not going to do this censorship stuff.
Yeah.
And they got shut down. And like, there are people that their entire livelihood was completely impacted by stuff like that.
Right.
But because he didn't have the balls to stand up, then he's going to, like, now we're going to applaud him. I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah.
But I am going to listen to it, because
Yes,
who knows? My opinion might change after it. I might be so convinced that he thought he was going to get murked up by the FBI or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. Not sure what his interview was about. But, my opinion could definitely change. But like, just first glance with all of that stuff coming out and how they were going to get rid of their fact checkers, it's like, yeah, nice timing. I don't know. But that's cynical Ashley talking. Sorry.
Well, we can't wait to hear more from Ashley's Conspiracy Corner.
Woo!
We hope you'll join us next week for more.
Yes, and I promise, I can't promise, but I'll try not to cough in your guys' ear next week.
All right,
right,
guys.
thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for swapping with us.